Hi, I'm Gary White for Central Kentucky Television. I'm here with Mayor Gary Crenshaw with the City of Lebanon for an update on what's been going on with the City of Lebanon. Lots of different things happening. Actually, right now it's kind of a quiet time of year, you were saying, right?
Yeah, right when school goes back into session, everybody is so focused on school and getting their kids in and watching for traffic in the morning and in the evening. Really, it's kind of a quiet time in the city. The park, there's not as much activity at the park, so it's a little bit of a slow time as far as any events or anything going on in the city.
Well, this is part of our Ask the Mayor segments. We're meeting with the different mayors of the communities throughout our Central Kentucky region. And if you have a question that you'd like me to pass along to Mayor Crenshaw, you can email to info@channel6tv.com, and we're going to be meeting on a regular basis, and I'll be passing those questions along, getting answers for you. If you have some questions or if you have some compliments on how things go or whatever, just email us at info@channel6tv.com and we'll pass that along to the mayors. But today we're going to talk about some different issues, one particularly that you've been involved with for the past several months. You've been talking with some community leaders about substance abuse in our community.
It all began with the discussion about our industries here in Lebanon and Marion County not being able to hire people because they couldn't pass a drug test. And that kind of appalled me. It embarrassed me. And so I have tried to educate myself on what is going on here in Lebanon and Marion County with regard to not only our jobs, but with the subject of substance abuse. And so far I've found some very interesting information. Relatively speaking to the number of referrals that are sent out to our plants, the ones that come through economic development, there's just a handful that haven't passed a drug test. I know of one or two companies that since the first of the year there's been over 500 referrals. They've given almost 200 drug tests, and there's only about 10 or 15 that failed. So the idea that factories can't find people to work because they can't pass a drug test is not actually factual. However, like other communities, we do have substance abuse problems here in our community. And I'm particularly concerned that how deep and how much does that affect our youth. I know in my meeting with Superintendent Hamilton, I was very pleased to see that the Marion County school system is very proactive and very positive with regard to educating and preventing drug and substance abuse on their campus. Dr. Hamilton informed me that last year they had over 500 drug screenings, and out of that 500 there were less, if I'm not mistaken, and with my figures, I think there were less than 15 or 20, and some of those didn't agree to take the test because they knew they were going to fail it.
Right.
And the other issue is I've had some young people tell me that you know, people using drugs all the time and they don't get tested. I was again pleased that Dr. Hamilton told me that anybody who is in any activity is subject to that random drug test. And sure, it might not catch everybody, but the school system is very proactive with that issue, and we want to support the school system here in our community, and we want to support our factories. But we really need to get a factual handle on what our problems are here. Another thing that we've done, we've met with the sheriff in Frankfort, who has a program up there that's been very successful. There's a community in Oklahoma that we've made contact with who has a very successful program. And one of the interesting things that they've done, they've put up signs as you come into the community and different places in the community that they're sort of like, if you use meth, and in one of those circles, you know, with a line through it, you know, that says, you know, we don't want you here if you use meth. If you use illegal drugs, we don't want you here. So it's been a very interesting experience for me to educate myself on the facts behind drug issues here in our county. And Gary, now that I say all of that, I by no means, and I want the people in our community to understand that we, like all our surrounding communities, we have issues with substance abuse here in Lebanon and Marion County. Mm-hmm. Another thing I'm proud of is that our Lebanon Police Department has increased their arrests by 48% over this time last year. Another thing that I'm proud of is that there was a employee of Walmart, and Walmart does a very good job in teaching and training their employees on how to spot not only shoplifters but things that could be harmful in the community. There was an individual that went down, there were 3 individuals that went down to Walmart and bought a bunch of alkaline batteries and a bunch of other things. That employee knew that that was unusual. Mm-hmm. So they called the Lebanon Police Department. The police department stopped the car, got a warrant, and searched the car, and there was all kinds of drug paraphernalia in the back and other material that you can use to make methamphetamine. Mm-hmm. So when you asked him that question about the substance abuse issues that I'm looking at now, is that we continue to have our meetings every other Friday. Hopefully next spring we'll compile all the information that we've gathered and bring all the people back in that we've talked to, mm-hmm. and continue to try and raise the awareness of drug issues in our community. And I want to thank the county judge, the magistrates, and the city council for their support in this issue. And it takes a lot of time, but it really appalled me when I first heard that our companies here, which we are so proud to have, mm-hmm. couldn't hire people because they couldn't pass drug tests. So long answer to your short question.
So that's going to be an ongoing
yes.
Program
yes.
that you're working on,
yes.
and then we'll keep you up to date. Hopefully we'll get regular updates, see what's going on with that. We did have Chief Brady, Wally. We had Wally on yesterday, and he was talking about the numbers. He was going over the numbers of arrests that they made. And I was talking with him as well that Kentucky is the #1 state in the country with prescription drug problems. Mm-hmm. So he was saying how that is a high problem they're having, and talking a little bit about meth has been showing up here a little bit. So yes, if you do see something unusual, do contact the police and let them know, because that is a way to help keep all of us safe.
You know, Gary, one of the interesting programs that we're looking at, and I want to give Senator Jimmy Higdon credit, him and Tom Lund went and met with the state police commissioner and all of his staff. When they got up there, all the captains were there, and they were very, very positive in wanting to help Lebanon and Marion County. They're willing to come down here and work with us. Not only that, but there's an interesting program that after we look more into it, we may be very interested in trying here, and it's a Citizens Academy. And there's probably 20-25 citizens who have the right mental frame for doing this, but the state police takes them through that academy and helps them to understand drug issues, what's used in making drugs, and to be people in the community who are watchful and can help the police in doing their job in drug interdiction. So there's all kinds of programs out there. We just have to, as I said earlier, educate ourselves and determine what's best for our small community.
And it is a very costly problem as well, because as when we had Senator Higdon on before, incarceration is one of the highest things that the state pays for, and a majority of everyone who's incarcerated can be traced back to they're there because of drugs somehow. Even if it's theft or drugs or murder or whatever, often it's because of something with involved drugs. So it is very costly.
And we're no different from any other community. We have our share of problems. But I intend for the city to look at those problems head on and make the community aware and make the community a partner in dealing with this.
Okay. Well, another issue we want to talk about is the sidewalks. You have some sidewalk work going on throughout the city. Can you tell us a little about the status there?
Yeah, and I've said this several times in the past, that people who run for office don't often come to the public and say, I've done a terrible job. But I do have to say that as mayor, that I have not had as many sidewalks constructed as I would have liked. Now, we've done several projects. I know 20 years ago we did the downtown. I know several years ago we extended fixed the sidewalks going out to the park so that our youth would have a way to get back and forth if they wanted to walk or ride their bike. Other than those things and the Sidewalk to Schools program that we had 3 years ago, we haven't been real aggressive on sidewalk repair other than emergencies. And so last year I went to the city council and said, look, we've got to do something, and I take responsibility for it, and let's allocate some money and start on our sidewalks. Last year we started but didn't get very much done, and so this year, thanks to the Public Works Department, we're going to have brand new sidewalks from the downtown area all the way out to the middle school. And I don't know when we'll get done, but hopefully if the weather's good and we can don't have a lot of water later this fall, the sidewalk will get out there to the stoplight, make a left turn, and go to the middle school.
Well, that's great. Now, what kind of cost point is this going to be? Do you have any idea?
You know, number one, our Public Works Department's building it, so we're not out any extra salary or extra contracting for labor.
Good.
So, and there aren't, you know, a lot of our communities around us does not have as qualified and skilled public works. Our Public Works Department can do anything from building buildings to sidewalks, fixing motors, anything. I've never seen anything like it, and they do a great job. So really the only cost we have is just the material, the actual outlay and cost. And when we get this project done, we'll be looking at Spalding Avenue probably next year.
Okay.
Our priority is the entrances to the city, and because we want to make sure that people that come to our city drive through it and have a good impression of it. And as we can, we'll be spreading out from those main entrances to the city, and hopefully over the next few years we'll be able to get some major sidewalk repair done.
Okay, great. We'll look forward to seeing that. So if you see the people out there working, you know what they're doing out there now, right?
Right. And
especially go around them.
Especially in this hot weather,
Right.
I really applaud them and their ability to hang in there.
Speaking of the hot weather, that has an impact on some other stuff too. And one thing is an odor that some people might detect this time of the year, right? Out by our sewer plant.
I know that most people in the community at one time or another, if they've walked, ridden a bike, or even had their windows down as they go through the east side of town, every now and then you'll smell an odor, and sometimes it gets pretty bad. That is coming from the sewer plant, and we have had engineer after engineer look at it, and there are two issues, and they're both related and connected, in that when we have periods of dry weather, and this can happen in the winter too, when we have periods of dry weather in the summer or periods of low rainfall in the winter, the large sewer lines does not have enough water coming through to flush those lines, and so gas builds up in them, and naturally it seeks to be released, and it's a problem that I don't see us being able to resolve permanently. I know I lived for 9 years on East Main, And I noticed on occasion that there would be a problem, but it wasn't that bad. But
right.
For those people who live over there occasionally, it's really bothersome and troublesome. And we've applied chemicals, we've flushed the lines, we've done everything we can. And other than moving the sewer plant, there's really no way to fix that, and we can't afford to move that plant.
That'd be costly.
Yeah, it'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of $13 million.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully the water will start flowing soon then, right?
Well, I know here in town every now and then we're able to flush the lines, so it helps.
Yeah. Now speaking of that too, with earlier in the summer, we did have a drought going on with very
Right.
dry weather. How has that impacted some of the city?
As far as the city goes, the worst impact is economic. We have a large segment of our residents here in Marion County are farmers, and they grow corn and soybeans. And the early soybeans have just been practically destroyed. The yields on those will be less than half. And what that does is take money out of our residents' pockets, whether directly out of their pocket or the ability to spend money to buy farm equipment. And this drought is really nationwide. And for those of you who are not farmers or are not gardeners, yesterday the price of corn reached a historical high. It was over $8 and I think 20 cents a bushel. And that's just crazy. And soybeans was up to over $16 a bushel. And normally corn is around $4 to $5 a bushel, and soybeans $7, $8, $9 a bushel. So this drought is driving everything up.
It's going to go into the individual's pocketbook then too, right?
Well, and another thing that it affects is that 40% of the corn output is designated for ethanol production in the United States. The other 36% is for cattle feed. So that 76% of the market is being squeezed, and there's a little bit of friction between ethanol producers and the cattle people. But what that does, that 76%, they've got to have their 76%. The 40% on the ethanol is mandated by a 2005 law by Congress. And what that does, it leaves you 24% for food.
Yeah.
And so you can expect anything with grain in it to, like bread and those things to get more expensive. And people are selling off dairy cows because the grain is so high, so that means milk's going to go up. So
it's all cyclical.
And so that affects our residents and their quality of life.
Yeah, I'm talking with Mayor Gary Crenshaw with the City of Lebanon. This is our Ask the Mayor segment, where it gives you the opportunity to ask questions of our city officials. If you have any questions of something that you'd like to see get answered, or if you have some comments or compliments or anything that you'd like to pass along, just give us an email at info@channel6tv.com. I'll be happy to pass that along because we're meeting with the mayor on a regular basis to get those questions answered. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Well, and we'll be glad to take the questions. Any question is fair game, and we love the compliments. We'd like to get some of those too. Okay?
That's right. It's always good to give a compliment. So this has been Gary White for Central Kentucky Television, here with Mayor Gary Crenshaw with the City of Lebanon.